Wrestling fans, are you ready? For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, let's get ready to rumble!
And now, please welcome at this time your hosts, Graham GSM Matthews and RJ Marceau. You're listening to the next era of wrestling radio. This is WrestleRant Radio.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WrestleRant Radio, here today for Thursday, October 24th, 2024. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great week so far. In addition, all the usual wrestling chatter that we will be getting to later on with Mr. Marceau. Today we're airing my exclusive interview with the mastermind behind the Loki series on Disney+, the screenwriter of the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness movie from 2022, and obviously the creator of the Heel Show, now on Netflix, Michael Waldron. We chatted about a month ago. The article went up on WrestleRant.com. The video will be up shortly on WrestleRant, the YouTube channel, youtube.com/WrestleRant. But now you can hear the audio of our interview today, talking all about heels being on Netflix, working with CM Punk, who was on the show. Netflix relationship with WWE, how that could bode well for a potential second or rather third season for heels. Hopefully at some point, fingers crossed. It was a very good show. And a whole lot more. I mean, really just his wrestling background as a fan, growing up a fan of the industry, the similarities between wrestling and Marvel, trying to incorporate a lot of those characteristics of wrestling in his Marvel projects, and a lot more. It was a fucking fascinating conversation for me personally, as someone who is a massive wrestling fan and a massive Marvel fan as well. So when you combine those two worlds together, and there are a lot more similarities than people care to realize, it's a quite fascinating conversation, so we're going to throw it to him momentarily. New episodes of WrestleRant Radio are available every single week, every single Thursday on WrestleRant.com, WrestleRantRadio.com, and all your usual podcast platforms. Rate the show, review the show, subscribe to the show. Never miss a new episode every single Thursday. And not only that, you can also check out our all-new store over at ProWrestlingTees.com/WrestleRant. I've been very slow to upload the WrestleRant Halloween design over at the store, so I'm hoping to upload that soon, get it cleared in the next couple days. It would be cutting it close before Halloween, but I'm a big Halloween mark. I want to get it up there as soon as possible, so keep an eye out for that. More designs are coming soon to the store, but support the show, support what I do, support the WrestleRant brand today by buying a shirt over at ProWrestlingTees.com/WrestleRant. You can also check out the link through the website, WrestleRant.com. Just click on the store page, store tab at the top of the page, and it'll direct you right to the website where you can buy a shirt and support the show, so I appreciate it. With all that being said, enjoy my exclusive conversation with Michael Waldron of Netflix's Heels, Multiverse of Madness, Loki, and so much more. Graham Romina here with WrestleRant and Bleacher Report. Today we're talking to the creator of Heels, Michael Waldron. Obviously, that's just a small sample size of everything that you've done over the course of your career so far, but excited to be chatting with you today, man. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Heels coming this Sunday as we're speaking right now to Netflix. This is a pretty big deal. The show's been around for a bit now, got 2 seasons, third season. Hopefully we will get at some point. We'll chat about that. But I mean, this just feels like the perfect timing. We know Raw, WWE Raw headed to Netflix in January. There's like a Mr. McMahon documentary, obviously the mastermind behind pro wrestling, coming soon to Netflix. This just feels like the perfect timing right now for Heels to be joining the Netflix family, that is.
Yeah, it's amazing. We always said, look, I'm so grateful to Stars for making the show, taking a chance on me. The show kicked off my career many, many years ago. And they let us make something that we were so proud of, and we kind of got away with murder on it. I just think ultimately, it didn't find, the audience wasn't able to find it, but I think the folks who did find it seemed to really, really respond to it. And especially the the wrestling fans, because we made it with a lot of love for that world, mainly because wrestling is my first great love. But we always said, we were like, man, if we were on Netflix, this would be the biggest show in the world. And now I'm like, oh shit, like our bluff called.
Yeah.
So we'll find out. But I feel really good, and you know, there's so much amazing wrestling content on Netflix and everything. So yeah, I think it's great timing.
I think you mentioned it right there. Excuse me. But the most obvious question with this coming to Netflix coming this weekend, you got to imagine this has got to increase the chances of a potential third season at some point, right?
I hope so. You know, we obviously, the season 2 is not the end of the show.
Of course not. Yeah.
The end of the show. We end on a cliffhanger, and there's a lot of great story left to be told with a big ensemble cast. I think that ultimately that'll be up to the audience, you know, and if the audience finds it and responds to it, which I hope they do, we would love to make more. And I think that one of the exciting things about it being on Netflix and Netflix's relationship with the WWE is there's a real opportunity to integrate the WWE more fully into the show. Whereas before we were kind of operating like the DWL, kind of like we were the little guys skirting around them.
Yeah.
You know, now we know that the WWE are big fans of the show, that they've watched it. And so I would be really excited to really fold them into the world of our show and see what that looks like.
Anyone that has seen the first 2 seasons of the show knows that Punk plays a pretty prominent role on the show in various episodes, that being CM Punk, Phil Brooks. One of his first major acting gigs was on Heels. He's going to be joining the Netflix family as well. He's on Monday Night Raw, which is joining Netflix in January. So if a third season is made, it seems like it'd be a lock that he could be potentially a part of it. I think that'd be pretty cool to see.
Punk is amazing. He's such a great actor. He's such a hard worker and just so lovely to be around. You know, I got to know him way back when he actually auditioned for the lead role of Jack Spade a long time ago. And I watched him work with an acting coach and take such great strides in a very short time as an actor. And you're immediately like, oh, you see why these wrestlers go on to become the biggest movie stars in the world, because they are the hardest workers. They've had to work so hard to get where they are. And when we finally were lucky enough to make the show, we knew we had to get him in there somewhere as Ricky Rabies. And he makes the show feel real, and he shows up, and he's such a likable presence, and he just makes the cast better. So hell yeah, we take as much Punk as we can get given his schedule, is the truth.
It's funny too, because the first season came out back in 2021. I think it was while the first season was still airing that he obviously made his triumphant return to the world of wrestling, like in the actual ring. Obviously he's doing some in-ring stuff and Heels. But that was like the first taste of anyone seeing Punk back in the ring doing anything associated with wrestling was Heels. So, Michael, do you take any credit for that whatsoever? That you might have been the one to light the spark there to get Punk back in the wrestling world for the first time in 7 years.
Absolutely, I take all the credit. I take full credit. All of those pops are all me. No, I mean that's all Phil and you know and his. I think nobody understands, at least the modern wrestling audience and the crowds better than him. And probably the greatest compliments I ever got on the show was when he first read the scripts, when we first met, because I was nervous. It's CM Punk. It's like, he's the fucking legend. And when he was like, yeah, you got it right. this is what it's like, and this is what, and he talked about, well, this is what it was like in different stops along his own career. That's when I was like, wow, I can't, I just felt really proud, because that's the kind of dude that you'd want to watch this show and say, yeah, this is the real thing.
You mentioned how wrestling was one of your first loves a little while ago, and Punk being a big star now. If there was anyone from that you either grew up watching or anyone that you're familiar with in the wrestling world today that you would want on a potential third season, are there any names that come to mind?
I mean, my favorites are, I have two favorites, because I was a WCW kid. I was not just a WWF kid, is what I would say.
That's how you know you're a real fan. If you mentioned WCW, that's a real fan right there.
Yeah, so it's like Sting was really my guy.
That's cool.
And so it's like I would be watching Nitro and taping Raw or one or the other. So it's probably Sting or Shawn Michaels. It just pound for Sting was, I think, what Batman and Superman are to most kids. That's what Sting was to me growing up. And then just in terms of like pound for pound, the amount of like entertainment I've gotten from watching someone perform, Shawn Michaels, like I will just sit down. If I'm having lunch, I'll just pop on a ladder match or just pick any one of his matches and just watch it. There's just nothing I love more than watching him. So
I feel it would be cool to see more of these wrestlers in general, WWE wrestlers, whatever it might be, make that bridge over into the acting world. Obviously, we know of like the John Cenas and Batistas and the Rocks and people like that, but people like Punk, and we know, I think it's been confirmed, I don't know if it's come out publicly, but like the Seth Rollins thing, rumored to be in the upcoming Captain America movie coming out next year. I think Punk might be among those, group of people that it would be cool to see in the acting world, specifically like a Marvel project or something like that. Obviously, something you have a lot of experience with, coming from Loki and Multiverse of Madness.
I would love. I've certainly spread the good word about what a great actor he is over there, and there's wrestling fans in the halls of Marvel, and we talk a lot about, I talk with those guys, the parallels between what we do at Marvel and what the world of wrestling is are obvious. I wasn't a comic book kid growing up. I was a wrestling fan, and I think that's why that was what prepared me to work in that Marvel world for so long.
I think you make a great point there. I think there's a lot of similarities for any wrestling fans that watch heels and then watch really any Marvel project, but specifically the stuff that you've been attached to, Loki, obviously, and Multiverse of Madness. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of similarities there. Was there anything specifically that you applied from being a wrestling fan growing up, but also working on heels, that while you were doing Loki and Multiverse of Madness, or really anything over the course of your career? I know you got a number of stuff coming up, the Chad Power Show, a number of other stuff, but specifically Marvel, that you were able to apply those wrestling lessons to as far as storytelling goes and stuff like that.
Well, I think that, Heels is a show very much about making the turns from, heels becoming faces, faces becoming heels. In the pilot episode, Ace, who's kind of the big face and hero of the league, the audience turns on him at the end, and is always fascinated by that. I think I remember as a little kid, the Hogan NWO thing. Obviously, it's like the original Red Wedding, when Hogan turns to the NWO, and then the fake Sting thing. And is Sting a good guy or is Sting a bad guy, and all of that, and the way that it played with, I feel like wrestling because at that time the Sopranos and Mad Men and these shows did not exist yet.
Mhm.
And so wrestling was really the first like serialized TV, at least for like young boys,
Yeah.
that trafficking in anti-heroes like Walter White, like Breaking Bad,
Mhm.
like Stone Cold is an anti-hero. And so Loki is a great example. Loki is a show about, can a villain become a hero? And so I'm always fascinated in like in the double turn, the Stone Cold Bret Hart Survivor Series. It's like that is such a brilliant feat of storytelling. The hero becomes the villain becomes the hero. Um, and I'm always on the lookout for that stuff. And I think, we tried to do that and Loki tried to do that in Doctor Strange, and just finding sort of moral complexity in these characters. That's what was great about the Monday Night Wars, is I think that the performers evolved out of kind of the more comic booky, I'm purely good, I'm Hulk Hogan, or I'm purely bad, I'm Andre the Giant,
Mhm.
into slightly more morally complex. Like there's a little more nuance to these stories being told. And so I don't know. In the Marvel world, I'm always trying to do the same thing, and fortunately they're always game for it.
Yeah, it's so apparent in Loki, especially. I mean, he started out as one of the best villains in the MCU, and through your show and both seasons, telling that complete story there, it's definitely apparent. And hopefully we could see more of that in Heels with a potential third season. Obviously, even Robert Downey Jr. now coming back as Iron Man. I mean, that is the ultimate example of the biggest babyface going heel in Marvel. I mean, a lot of wrestling fans ate that up. That was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it's the parallels are obvious, and that's why that's why I think that a show like Heels has a great shot on Netflix,
Yep.
because it's a show that you can watch and say, oh shit, this is kind of everything. Politics is wrestling, superhero movies is wrestling,
Yeah.
everything is wrestling. There's a great article many years ago, right as I was pitching the show, in the New York Times, I believe, that was titled "Everything is Wrestling."
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I think it's correct. I think everything is wrestling, and that's why the WWE continues to be ahead of the curve. And that's why I'm really glad that this show's coming out on Netflix now when it
Yeah.
is.
Definitely, man. Well, I'm looking forward to it. And third season, or both seasons, first two seasons coming out on Netflix this coming Sunday. You got a lot going on between that, Chad Powers, everything else that you've done. It's amazing. You look at the resume of what you've put together between Loki, Doctor Strange, this show, Rick and Morty are literally all my favorite things. So seeing that you've had a hand in really all of them is cool to see. So congrats on all of that. I mean, what more can people look forward to from? I know you got your new company as well, the Anonymously Pictures. Heels coming out on Netflix. Anything Marvel related that you can share? I know everything's super top secret, but what can we look forward to you working on in the future?
Well, I think that, yeah, I mean, hopefully we get to do more of Heels. That's
Hmm.
the if the audience tunes in, and we'd love to make more. And right now I'm in production on Chad Powers for Hulu, that Glenn Powell's starring in, which is going to be a wild ride. I
Hmm.
don't think anybody's ready for what that show is going to be. So it's a football comedy set in the world of college football, and it's going to be a blast.
Fantastic. Well, congrats on all the success, man. I appreciate the time. My girlfriend wanted me to tell you, Loki's literally her favorite show of all time. I still need to get her into Heels. I watched Heels myself, but she's like, just tell him Loki's my favorite thing ever. So
Yeah.
she wanted me to let you know.
Great. Thank you, and thank her for me, and I really appreciate the time.
Big thanks to Michael for the time. It was a lot of fun chatting with him about all things wrestling and Marvel and whatnot. I thought that was really interesting how we kind of connected the two. And like we talked about there at the end, go to Netflix if you have it, and you should, because Raw's going to Netflix very soon. But check out Netflix, check out Heels on Netflix, and get a green light for a third season. It's a very good show. If you haven't already checked it out, I checked it out probably, I think about a year ago, late 2023. I had a list. for a long time of these shows I have to watch, catch up on, didn't have a chance to watch. I watched that and a whole other bunch of shows in the final few months of 2023. I think I'm pretty much caught up on everything I've been missing out on for a long time now, including Heels. And I'm glad I did watch the show. It's a great show. And also, as we mentioned with Michael, CM Punk appears in the show. So for those interested in that as well, you can watch the show for him only. But the entire show is a lot of fun. So check it out now on Netflix. Our article, kind of detailing the conversation we just had here on the show, is available right now over at WrestleRant.com, and I'm hoping to have the video of our interview also available soon. It's just the video version of what you just listened to on the YouTube channel very soon, youtube.com/WrestleRant, so keep an eye out for that. I'm not sure we're going to have an interview here on the Halloween episode next week, falling on October 31st for the first time in 5 years. I don't think so. I think it's just going to be a straight-up show with me and Mr. Marceau talking all the latest in the world of wrestling, also previewing Crown Jewel, but keep an eye out for that next week as well. But until then, we do got Mr. Marceau on the line this week, as always, to break down all the latest in the world of wrestling. Before that, though, the Mets no longer in the World Series mix. I'm upset. Mr. Marceau, brother, how you doing? How you making out?
I'm doing good. I mean, I was on the LGM train for a while, but, all good things do have to come to an end eventually.
Unfortunately, yes. Now it's between Dodgers, Yankees. I know we typically do Super Bowl predictions here every year, but I'm going to give you a World Series prediction. It kicks off, obviously, very soon. Dodgers, Yankees. We mentioned before we hit record here a little while ago that Yankees' first appearance in the World Series in 15 years. Dodgers, 15 years, as Kevin Owens would say. Dodgers... Because I'm a big stats guy, so before every World Series, or Super Bowl rather, I kind of look up when was the last time this team won, and I kind of go off of that. Dodgers, I guess, only just won in 2020 during COVID, which I honestly either forgot about or didn't know. But they're obviously a very good team this year. They got Ohtani on there. Trust me, I know all about the Ohtani stuff, and I think they're going to win it all. I think it'd be pretty crazy if the Yankees could make it happen for the first time in 15 years, but Dodgers are my pick personally. But who you got going over in the World Series, brother?
Yeah, I'm going with Dodgers as well. I mean, my stomach hurts just thinking about the Yankees winning, so I'm going to go with the Dodgers. I mean, I think they're the better team anyways, but I can't root for the Yankees. So
yeah, spoken like a true Mass native.
I can't do it. Just can't do it.
Listen, I don't blame you. Yeah, that's coming up soon. Some stuff to talk about here from the past week. Again, not really an overly eventful week, so really not too much to talk about, so I'll get you out of here soon. But the biggest story of the week really had nothing to do with what happened on Raw itself, which we will get into momentarily, but this happened on Monday, a bombshell really out of nowhere. Samantha Irvin, not even leaving WWE. She has officially left WWE, unless she's still under contract and they just didn't really want her on Raw because she's on her way out. I think she actually is indeed done. And we just talked about this before we hit record here, but we'll kind of regurgitate a lot of the same information here for the actual podcast. But yeah, she put out a statement on her Instagram and Twitter, X, whatever, on Monday, really hours before Raw, saying it was this whole thing, thanking a lot of people for the opportunity, WWE itself, Triple H, Michael Cole, Michael P.S. Hayes, Mark Henry for discovering her, among many other people. And she's gone. She wasn't on Raw that night to say goodbye. They did mention her, which I did not notice during Raw. I saw a clip later on where I guess Joe Tessitore, it wasn't the opening segment because they had that Rollins-Bronson Reed brawl, but they did right before the New Day match with AOP, before they introduced Lilian Garcia, actually, who was the interim replacement for Irvin, which we'll get to a little bit later on. They did acknowledge her departure, and they wished her well and whatnot, which was cool. Typically, they would just, fucking blur you out of video packages and stuff like that. You're dead to them, but it's a new era, thankfully. But yeah, Samantha Irvin's gone. Per PW Insider, I guess they had found out hours beforehand that she was leaving. According to Samantha herself, she corrected that and said that they found out months ahead of time. So, and I guess Meltzer, again, take it with a grain of salt, said that this was something that was about a year in the making. This is something that she'd considered doing for a long time now, but it was a well-kept secret because we didn't find out about it until she actually left on Monday. My belief in what the reports are indicating was that she wants to just do other outside projects, and it wasn't conducive to the WWE schedule. And this is not a going to AEW type of thing. Could it end up that way? Maybe. I guess she could do AEW because they don't do any house shows. That she could totally do AEW and do other stuff. I don't really think that's what this comes down to and wanting to be with Ricochet, who outright said on Twitter she is not coming to AEW. Now, could he be lying? Of course, people lie on the internet all the time, but I really don't think that's what this case is. So I mentioned a lot there, Mr. Marceau. I know we texted about it on Monday. We just talked about it momentarily or a little while ago. Your instant reaction is Samantha Irvin. They're golden goose for ring announcers gone from WWE.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised, honestly, when I saw the statement and saw it on Twitter. I was like, geez, that's kind of out of nowhere. Like you said, it sounds like maybe it was something in the works for a while, but, I mean, it just kind of came out of nowhere. I figured she'd be with the company for a long time. I mean, like you said, I feel like house shows, Raw, she was kind of all over the place, Instagram. I feel like she was kind of in the company's plans. I mean, I feel like that she was always just kind of always around. So was pretty surprised. Like you said, I think if she went to AEW, I just feel like it would kind of be stupid at this point. I think she has a lot of talent, and wouldn't be surprised if she had other opportunities come up with her work that she's done in WWE. I mean, she's a great announcer. I feel like she'd be an asset anywhere. I'm not sure exactly what she'd do, but I think anything with speaking, I think she'd be great. She is, I would say, pretty girl, so I mean that definitely helps as well. But I think she can pretty much do anything she wants. I think she showed the last couple of years that she was great in that role specifically. But I think any kind of media role, I think she'd thrive in. I think she has the passion for WWE. I would assume wherever she goes, she has a passion for that as well, and I think it would come off great on camera.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know if Lilian Garcia knew this as a fact or she was just speculating, but I guess she said on Instagram the other day when she wished Samantha well in her future endeavors, which is such like a toxic term because it means like, hey, fuck you, like get out of here. But I mean, like legitimately, I think she wished her well in her future endeavors with whatever that's going to entail exactly. But she had mentioned that like, I think she might want to work more on her singing career, Samantha that is, because she was a singer before she came to WWE. I know there's plenty of clips and like, obviously, wrestling fans have only been aware of her, and myself included. I'm not excluding myself from this, but I only knew of her when she came into WWE. I didn't know that she was on America's Got Talent doing all this other shit, but she was already having a pretty successful music career, singing career before she came to WWE. WWE was just the biggest platform she had been on to date. But I know she did. I think she sang the national anthem for, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like a Cowboys game. I think Dom was there too. Rey Mysterio might have been at the game. This was a couple of weeks ago. Did you see this or no?
I feel like it was like a baseball game.
Was it baseball? Maybe it may have been baseball.
I think it was one of the I could have sworn it was one of the playoff games. It was Rey Mysterio. I feel like it was like San Diego.
Oh, that would make sense. Yeah, if Rey was there, yeah. Maybe it was. They showed it on Raw.
I have it pulled up right here.
Okay.
She's in the national. No, here it is. Yeah, she's in the national anthem for the Raiders-Steelers game.
Raiders-Steelers. Okay, so it was a football game.
That's literally the picture you showed. The Rey Mysterio's right behind her.
Yeah, but that's a logical guess though that it would be a Dodgers game or something because Rey being there and whatnot. But yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, no. So I could see her doing more of stuff like that. I mean, I just feel like when you do stuff like that, and that was like 2 weeks ago. And again, I apparently take it for what it's worth per Meltzer, that this has been in the works for a while now. But I feel like when you do stuff like that, and she is as great as she is, that people are going to take notice of that, and they're going to offer opportunities. Like, I don't know what that entails exactly. Like I said, like, she's not doing movies and stuff like that, but for her line of work with announcing and singing, I mean, I'm not sure what other opportunities are out there. I know there are, but just my bigger point here is that I don't really think, I had said I feel like it would be, I mean, not even subjectively, but objectively, it would be a step backward to go to AEW for her position specifically. Like, and I don't mean to say like anyone that goes from WWE to AEW is a step backward. I mean, business wise, I mean, obviously WWE is the bigger company, but like for her husband, even as an example, I mean, Ricochet, I actually was in favor of him leaving, going to AEW. He hasn't really done a whole lot recently compared to what he was doing in WWE, but he's got a whole fresh batch of opponents to work with. He was stale in WWE. He's won all the mid-card belts there. It's a nice change of scenery. For ring announcers, it's different. When you're, like I said earlier, the golden goose of this company, and really the guy in so many, just in a simple way of putting it, as far as ring announcers goes, when people tout you as one of the greatest of all time, which I would put her in that conversation. She's not my favorite personally, and I didn't, we talked earlier, like the special announcements, I wasn't a big fan of the Chelsea Green stuff, I thought that was stupid, but there is no denying her talent. When you're in that position of prominence, and you, like, they had her call, dude, every fucking match at WrestleMania this year. They didn't go 50-50 with her and Alicia Taylor, who's now on SmackDown. She didn't go 50-50 with Mike Rome, who used to do Raw, I think when she was on SmackDown, and they put her on Raw, when Ricochet went to Raw last year, whatever. She announced, I think, every single match at Mania. So they went all in on Samantha. She's all over their socials, or was anyway. And they love Samantha. So I'm just surprised they couldn't work out a deal to where they could, allow her to do outside projects. Because I just don't think it's a case of like, I want to do outside projects and go to AEW for my husband. I don't know. I mean, they already have Justin Roberts, and she's better than Justin Roberts, but I really don't think it's an AEW thing, whether Ricochet said that she's going there or not. I know he said that she's not, but I wouldn't even really, even if he didn't say that, I would still think that she wasn't going to AEW, because there is a world outside of wrestling for those that are unaware. I think she's doing other stuff. I'm just kind of surprised they couldn't work out a deal. If that is indeed true and she wants to do more stuff, whatever that would be exactly, I'm surprised WWE wouldn't bend over backwards for her like they do for Pat McAfee. But to your point, like we were talking earlier before we hit record, I guess she's just not on the same level of star power, right?
I mean, Pat McAfee's one of the, like, currently right now, but he's probably one of the biggest celebrities probably in the world, or yeah, at least the United States. I mean, I think most people know who he is. He kind of had, like, in the last few years, I feel like him, like Glenn Powell, like Timothy Chalamet. I feel like they're like all over the place. Those three people specifically. Like, I don't know. He's all over ESPN. I mean, it's one of the. He's on Twitter. Like, had his own show. Now he's on College Game Day. He was in the WWE. Played in the NFL. I don't know. I just feel like he's like one of the hot hands right now. So, I mean, I think for someone like him, you kind of do bend over backwards for. With her, like, yeah, she is great. Like I said, I feel like they put a lot of investment in her, but like, depending on what she wants to do, I mean, I think it's a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, could you find a replacement for her for 6 months? I mean, I just don't think they really... Could they work that way? I guess they could. But I just don't think they want to work that way. I think with the ring announcers they've always had, I think their mentality has always been, whether it's been Vince in charge, now Triple H, whoever, the company's mentality is that you are all in with this company. Lilian Garcia did leave. I mean, I think she wanted to leave to go start a family, actually, and then she came back a couple years later. I think she did her singing career while with WWE. They may have even produced her album, but I could be wrong about that. I feel like she did it while she was with the company. But I think she might have a higher ceiling than even Lilian Garcia did as far as that sort of stuff goes, and the singing and the outside projects and whatever else. Yeah, I don't know. It is interesting. I guess if you're not there every single week on Raw ring announcing, then they're like, hey, yeah, you're probably just better off going doing something else. And I think with Samantha specifically, it's a shame because I don't really think she's easily replaceable. Because whoever they have fill in for her next, currently it's Lilian Garcia, is going to constantly be compared to her. And I don't even really know who that would be. Mike Rome they put back in NXT. And I don't know if they would bring him back to the main roster and then put someone new in NXT. I don't know. It is an interesting situation. But as far as who's next in that role, we saw Lilian Garcia back on Raw before we, talk about potential replacements. Your thoughts on Lilian Garcia's return to Raw? I mean, she was on Raw a couple of months ago, but she hasn't announced full time for them in close to a decade. And she still got it. She got a lot of shit wrong on Monday, but you know what? She hasn't been around for a while. I mean, I don't know if she watches the product consistently. Whatever. She's been known to botch in the past. I think she's really good, so I don't really care. I'm glad she's back, though. And if they are using this time to find a new ring announcer replacement, I think she's a perfect fit as that Raw ring announcer for right now.
Yeah, I like Lilian Garcia. I mean, I kind of grew up on her, so it was nice to... I mean, I feel like for her specifically, she has such a distinct voice in my head that, once I heard it at first, I was like, wait, is that Lilian Garcia? And then they showed her, obviously. But
Yep.
I think as an interim, I think she's good. I mean, she did mess up a lot. I'm not sure exactly. I'm assuming she's probably reading off something. I mean, she hasn't been with the company in a while, so maybe she's just reading things that's like a format that has those people's names. So she, included the other people in LWO, which is Zelina, and then... Same with Dominic, with Liv and Raquel, and he did not come out with them. So, yeah. I mean, like you said, I'm not a huge deal. I like her voice. I think for me specifically, I grew up on that voice. So it's very distinct, and I think she's good. And she rings now. It's not it's the biggest deal of all time, but I think in the interim, I think she's good. I'm not a big Mike Rome guy, so probably stick away from him. But I don't really care for the woman on SmackDown either. So I would just go with Lilian for now.
Yeah, I'm not a big Alicia Taylor fan. I mean, I'm just talking as far as the ring announcing itself. I don't know these people personally. I've always liked Mike Rome. I don't really think Alicia Taylor's great, but she's been there for a long time, so maybe they slot her in on Raw. I don't know. Yeah, I think Lilian's really good. She's always been really good. I'm glad to see her back. I saw a report on Monday, or Tuesday, I guess, because the Samantha Irvin news broke on Monday. It was the following day that said, oh yeah, WWE's going to spend the next several months... Lilian's only there while they search for a potential replacement for Samantha. And I think it's going to be someone new. I think Lilian has been there before. She knows the ropes, so they're bringing her in for now. But I think it will be someone brand new that we've never even seen before. Like Samantha Irvin, I mean, obviously wasn't new to announcing and singing and stuff like that, but she was new to wrestling. Like she wasn't in TNA or AEW or whatever. So I could see them trying to, go out and find someone new that would be suitable to replace Samantha. But when I saw the report, I'm thinking Samantha had said that she, gave them her notice months ago, which I'm surprised they didn't leak out. But she has been, she said that she kind of she implied that WWE knew well in advance that she was leaving. So if they knew that well in advance, why are we in the situation we're in now where they have to look for a replacement? Were they not looking for a replacement for the last couple of months? That just seems strange to me.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. The whole thing is weird because, we were talking about this earlier. I think you mentioned this before as well. But, I don't know. Not everyone needs a send-off. But, here's a perfect example. Kayla Braxton. Hers was a contract situation. I don't think Samantha's was a contract situation. I think she just resigned. I think Fightful said that she resigned, which means it's not like her deal was up. She said, hey, can I leave? And they said, yeah. Obviously, I'm sure it wasn't that simple. They were probably surprised by it, too. Which was the report from WrestleVotes. But Kayla Braxton had her contract coming up. She said that she was leaving at the end of it. She wrapped up. Everyone knew that her SmackDown and MSG was her last. And I don't know, they didn't really do anything on SmackDown to send her off, but they kind of brought her out afterward. Cody Rhodes did and addressed it. And Samantha Irvin is far more beloved, and Kayla Braxton's great, but Samantha Irvin is like their golden goose. Like I said, she's like their golden child. And I think she would have gotten a great reaction. Maybe they didn't want people to boo Lilian. I don't know. It just for her to put it out in an announcement and not be on Raw itself just took me by surprise, I guess.
Yeah, it is what it is at this point.
Yeah. Last question for you on that front. You mentioned some of the people that you grew up watching as far as or listening to as far as the ring announcers go. Who would be your top favorite ring announcers? Because my list is always constantly changing, but you've gone through Chimmel and Garcia, obviously Finkel as well for a time. Who would be in your favorite ring announcer group? And it could be from any company too.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm trying to think. I really like I said, Lilian Garcia was good. Chimmel was good. Fink was quick, but I feel like he was just a classic.
Yeah. From when you started watching, you're saying.
Yeah, right when I first started, he was still around.
Yeah.
I like JoJo. I thought JoJo was pretty good. I'm trying to think what else. There wasn't really too many people I didn't like. Like I said, I'm not a huge Mike Rome guy. But I'm trying to think what else. Samantha Irvin, I liked her.
I like Samantha. I love Justin Roberts. I don't like his stuff in AEW now, but
I like Justin Roberts who's in WWE. Now in AEW he's pretty bad. I'm trying to think who else. That's about it.
Who they had? They had Greg Hamilton there for a while. He didn't really do much for me, though.
Greg Hamilton was pretty decent.
Yeah, he was okay at his job. He didn't really stand out to me as special, but he got the job done. It wasn't bad. There's a lot of. I'm sure there's some bad ones that we're not remembering because they were there for so briefly. They used to go through ring announcers like fucking candy there for a while because they would either be unknown people, especially on the C shows like ECW and stuff like that. I guarantee you they had people that we don't even remember or didn't even know existed. Because they were not there for that long. But, I would agree. I think those are some of my favorites as well. One of the other bigger stories from Raw on Monday that also, again, did not have to do with it did have to do with the show, but not really a storyline development, if that makes sense. But I mentioned this to you before, and you didn't know what I was talking about, which goes to show I don't really think it's that big of a deal, but it is something worth discussing. Carlito, there was a segment on Raw this week where Carlito went to go speak to Adam Pearce about getting Dominic a match with Gunther, and it ended up being a former world champion, which he'll face next week. Obviously, Damian Priest, whatever. And as Damage CTRL, who were also there in the segment, Io Sky and Kairi Sane walked off, Carlito, trying to do his dumb comedy character bit, which I guess wasn't a scripted line, had said, I gotta go learn Chinese, which obviously they're not Chinese, they're Japanese. It's a stupid joke, racist. Yeah, I don't know that I don't know. Racist is a harsh term, but is it a racist joke? I guess. I guess by definition it would be, and a lot of people are upset about it. To a degree, I understand. At the same token, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think should he be fired? No. Should he be told not to ad-lib? Or this is why they have scripts and stuff, because you can't say shit like that. You can't be saying stuff like that, especially in this day and age. We could debate all day whether people can make jokes or not, but this day and age, people get bothered by stuff so easily, and especially on a massive platform like Monday Night Raw, you probably, with sponsors and stuff like that, probably not the best thing to say. So it was a dumb thing to say, but I don't think we have to call for the guy's head like he should be fired. So I know you saw the clip because you saw it earlier when I brought it up to you. Your thoughts on that, just as far as like people's, I mean, I guess you didn't really see the reaction, but I don't know. I really don't think it's really that big of a deal, to be honest with you.
No, I mean, I didn't think it was really that big of a deal. I mean, if he said Japanese, would everyone have been okay with it? I guess that's the intent. Like, do people think it's racist because he said I should learn Chinese, and even though
it was wrong. Japanese. Yeah, no, it was dumb. Yeah,
like I guess that's my question. Like, if he said Japanese, would everyone like, oh, that's funny? Because like clearly, like,
I would think so.
Maybe he's making a character, like maybe he thinks they're attractive, so he said, "Oh, I'm that."
Yeah.
Like whatever, regardless. But like, so if he said Japanese, would have been fine, or like just saying Japanese, like since it's Chinese, then it's racist. Like, I mean, that's the thing. It's like maybe it's like ignorant. I don't know if I'd say racist because clearly,
exactly.
I think he meant to say Japanese. He just said Chinese. Okay, I mean, I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I mean, everything nowadays is kind of just. Everything's put into, like, everything's overlooked at, and everyone's offended by everything. So, I mean, I think I get his intent, but he said maybe just if you're going to make the line, especially in 2024, like, make sure you get the right country and right, like, origin. But, yeah. I mean, I don't think it's that big of a deal. But, like I said, people freak out about everything.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's, and I'm not saying that people were saying this, but I think it's, especially Io Sky, actually, she was involved in something like this, not with a fellow performer, but if you recall, like, maybe 4 or 5 years ago in NXT, she was getting ready for a match, and she was a heel, so people are gonna, you can yell rude stuff, but, like, not, like, disrespectful shit. So this, you know where I'm going with this. The fan was like, oh, go back to China. Which obviously she's not from China, and even then, even if he said go back to Japan, that's still fucking racist or whatever. But he said China, and she goes, "I'm Japanese, bitch," which is really funny. It wasn't really a case like that where like I don't think it was said as a disrespectful thing. Again, I don't know if he got it wrong on purpose or if he got it wrong on accidentally. I'm not exactly sure what the intent behind that was. I think the bigger takeaway and why it was even a bigger deal. I forgot, maybe it was the Rolling Stone. I forgot the outlet. There was an article like a week ago, like literally days before this happened on Raw, where a bunch of ex-WWE writers spoke to someone from, again, like I said, Rolling Stone or an outlet like that, talking about how, like the terrible backstage culture at WWE, and how they were told to incorporate sexist remarks, and they were treated disrespectfully, specifically the women. The racist shit, we know all about the racist shit that WWE was doing, throughout the Attitude Era in the 2000s and the shit that they would put in their fucking scripts and whatever. So I guess that comes out, and then he says that on Monday, and people automatically think, well, the culture hasn't changed. They're still fucking racist. They're still making stupid jokes. That's the thing. I believe, and I know it was just a source that claimed it wasn't that wasn't their line. It just makes the company look bad because it makes it look like they wrote that for him, whereas he just ad-libbed it like an idiot, and he shouldn't have said that. But I don't think they wrote that for him is the point. is the point
I think, like you said, I think it was like an ad-lib of him saying it. Like I said, I think it was supposed to be a joke, and he said the wrong thing. I do want to circle back. Favorite ring announcer? Can't believe we forgot her. Brandy.
Dude, I've gone back and watched old clips from like 2015, 2016 WWE. She sucked. I'm sorry. She was... she was not good at all. I'm sorry. But she's your favorite, though, right? She's among your favorites?
I was saying, I literally saw her name and I fucking died laughing. I was like, oh, I totally forgot about Brandy.
I forgot about Brandy Rhodes, yeah. Wow. That feels like an eternity ago. That feels like a different lifetime ago. Yeah, no, she wasn't good. She left. Actually, she was someone you talk about going to where your husband works or whatever. She actually quit right after Cody did. I don't know how well she was being treated. I don't know if she really talked about that. But at the same time, it's not like she left to go to, fucking AEW with Cody Rhodes. Like, that was years later. It wasn't the same thing. But she did leave. She left AEW, actually, out of the same thing. She left AEW at the same time that Cody Rhodes did. She didn't go back to WWE. And maybe she will at some point. I don't know. But, yeah, I totally forgot about Brandy Rhodes. So yeah, I don't really think the Carlito thing was that big of a deal. I think it'll die down. I think he might apologize. I think an apology would be worth it. Especially again, if he said Japanese.
No need. Everyone needs to fucking stop being babies.
I wouldn't lose sleep over it personally if he didn't. I'm just saying it might be the smart move. If people are still talking about it, in the coming days, then maybe. But otherwise, I don't really think I don't know. I think it's one of those things that people get upset over. Learn for the future. Don't say shit like that. Or at least go, I understand what he was trying to do. He's just trying to be a goof. Didn't land well. and they got in hot water over it. So to at least avoid more bad publicity for the company, maybe just don't do that. I guess
don't do it again.
Just don't do it again. Learn your lesson and don't do it again. If it happens again, then we can have a conversation. But just a little slap on the wrist, I don't think is that big of a deal. On Raw this week, they made the match official for Crown Jewel. Seth Rollins and Bronson Reed are going to be going at it one-on-one. We'll get into predictions next week, but I did want to mention that briefly because I thought for a while this match might be happening on Raw, but they're actually doing it at the pay-per-view. So this is a must-win situation for Bronson Reed, right? I mean, Seth Rollins even cost Bronson the win against Braun Strowman a couple of weeks ago on Raw. He's got to win this match. Again, we'll talk about it more next week, but I feel like they announced the match for the pay-per-view. That's great. Now have the guy fucking win.
No, I think if Braun doesn't win here, he might as well just go away. Bronson might as well just quit like Samantha Irvin and just go do something else.
Yeah, that would probably be for the best. Also on Raw this week, we had the remainder of the World Tag Team Championship Tournament matches, qualifiers for next week's Triple Threat number 1 contenders tag team matchup. Triple Threat tag team matchup. So the New Day qualified on Monday's Raw. They beat Authors of Pain. And then we also saw the LWO's Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee, quite the team, beat the Creed brothers to advance to next week's number 1 contenders triple threat tag team match. So it's going to be the War Raiders, the New Day, and the LWO, 3 babyface teams, which I like because any one of them can win because we have heel tag team champions in the Judgment Day's Finn Balor and JD McDonough. I like that a lot. So this will be a good match. Who's your prediction? Who do you think walks away as the new number 1 contenders to the World Tag Team titles and hopefully beats them for the belts as well because they've done nothing with those tag team titles?
I think it's got to be the War Raiders based on the other 2 teams. I mean, New Day's still going through their ascension. Mysterio and Lee, like a nice team, but they're not like a legit tag team. So I would go with the War Raiders. I feel like they just came back, put the belts on them, keep the heat going. So I would say they should win.
I think the New Day and the LWO might actually cancel each other out because we're still getting that kind of Xavier Woods, Rey Mysterio thing where we unmask them and whatever. So I think we could see more of that. I think there's a pretty decent chance that New Day wins because we are coming up on the 10-year anniversary of New Day in WWE, and they might want to, correlate that with them winning the tag titles. They already lost the Judgment Day, but they might want to build a rematch where they do win the tag team titles. So I'm going to say New Day win, but I think War Raiders do make more sense, and I hope they win. But I'm thinking New Day might win just because we are getting closer to them, their anniversary, like I said, and they might want to have them win the tag team titles on that show. But yeah, also on Raw, we finally got the return of the Wyatt Sicks. They have not been around since they beat American Made in that street fight tag team match a couple of weeks ago, probably over a month ago at this point. They were on Raw this week, and they went after the Final Testament and The Miz. So, not exactly a high-profile faction, but honestly, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't mind the feud because it gives Wyatt Sicks another string of wins. It gets Karrion Kross doing something on the show. I like the whole devil's advocate Sean O'Hare character he's doing right now. Keeps Miz busy. So, not exactly an enthralling feud, but I'm perfectly fine with it, so I'm curious what your 2 cents are.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the greatest feud, but like I said, I guess it gets them on TV and something. I mean, it's not the greatest thing of all time, but at least it's some direction. Yeah,
I mean, it's something at least. And then obviously the big talking point from the show. We got a new Intercontinental Champion. I can hear your cries from miles away, Mr. Marceau. Jey Uso losing the belt on Monday to Bron Breakker, now a 2-time Intercontinental Champion. And I can't say I don't think anyone was too surprised. After Jey Uso sealed his fate on Friday's SmackDown when he confronted the Bloodline. Great moment, but as soon as his music hit on SmackDown, I'm thinking, this guy's fucked. He just signed his death note. The Bloodline will get involved and cost him the championship, and that is exactly what happened. Which is, honestly, here's my thing. I'm totally fine with it. So the match was good. I thought the first match was better, had more heat. The crowd was more into it, but this was still a fun match. Give me your 2 cents, Mr. Marceau. What are your instant reactions to yet another Intercontinental title change on the show? Jey Uso's run cut short at a month. Yay or nay? I know you're a yeet man, but do you see the logic here, or you were like, this is like... Because I saw a lot of people thinking, why would you even give him the belt? Which I'll respond to in a second, but I'm curious what your thoughts are.
I mean, like you said, once he came out on SmackDown, I knew that he was in deep trouble here. And then obviously once Solo Jacob came out, same kind of thing. Like you said, I thought the first match was probably better. So like you said, I think Jey as the challenger going in, I think this was a bigger moment. I thought it was a fine match. Like you said, once they came out, I was like, oh, here we go. I mean, Jey definitely didn't help himself. He just attacked Tama Tonga for no reason. For legitimately no reason. So, I mean, Not sure exactly why he did that, but, I mean, once that happened, I kind of figured, oh, here we go. Once Jacob and Bron were face-to-face, I was like, maybe there's a chance. But then once Jey wiped them both out, I'm like, well, he's done. And that's what happened. So, I mean, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I kind of saw the writing on the wall. I think when I originally probably discussed him possibly winning the belt, I said he could hold it for maybe a month.
Yeah.
I think the whole point was just getting the belt on him to kind of solidify that he could win something on his own. So it wasn't the fact of him holding it for a long time because I just didn't think he should have. Bron winning was probably the right decision. Gets Jey now freed up for the bloodline stuff. So all in all, I didn't really have a problem with it.
I think you answered my question right there exactly, where you said that it was really more about him proving that he can win a championship on his own, and it wasn't about how long he can hold it for. Now, if he lost it the following week, I would have been more annoyed by that, but he had one title defense against Xavier Woods. He held it for a month. Again, it wasn't 3 months. And here's the thing. I think we can normalize short championship runs again. I fucking hate short title runs, but if they're done right like this one was, or Jey Uso gets his moment, he's champion for a little bit, and then you lose it because of a storyline reason. It's not like he lost clean to Bron Breakker. He only lost because the Bloodline got involved. And there was way too much interference in that match, by the way. Like, they got involved. Solo came out with Jacob Fatu, got the tickets, which was fucking funny. And then he was sitting there for a little while. Like, they got involved maybe 4 or 5 times. That was excessive. But the outcome was always going to be what it was. And like you said, it accomplished its goal of giving Jey that moment. Because I saw people saying after this happened, well, then what was the point of giving Jey the belt? To do exactly what you just said. And again, I promise you, if Jey did not win the belt a month ago, those same people would be complaining, well, Jey never wins anything. Well, you can't really say that anymore because he won the Intercontinental title. Granted, it wasn't for long, but he did win the Intercontinental Championship. He did retain it successfully a couple of weeks ago. I mean, it was what it was, and there's not anyone saying that he can't win that belt back at some point eventually. But the belt's back on Bron.
He's not gonna, but yeah.
You don't think so?
No.
So you think with Jey Uso getting involved in War Games, which he is, and I also think, it just adds to why he would want to be in War Games, not just to reunite with Roman and Jimmy, because why would he want to help these people that made his life miserable for so long? But he's also doing it to get back at the Bloodline for costing him the championship, which I like a lot. Okay. But so Jey and Jimmy reunite as part of War Games. We get the Usos back. But you say what you did. Do you think from that point forward we get the Usos back as a full-time tag team, or do they stay as single stars from that point forward?
I think they'll go back to being a tag team again, unfortunately.
So we will never get Jey on his own, at least not for a very long time, you think, after that?
I think maybe they'll do some single stuff, but they'll be like a team, I think.
Okay. It will be interesting to see how it's handled, because I just don't think they need to do the tag team stuff. Just because Jey's just so over, I just don't really think there's any real need to have him go back to Jimmy Uso for any length of time beyond War Games. Having them, chase the tag titles on SmackDown? I guess. But speaking of that, though, actually, the Bloodline are the current tag team champions. I don't really need to see this, but could you see a scenario where the Usos get back together and are the ones to dethrone Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa for the SmackDown tag team titles?
Works for me.
Or would you rather see, which I would prefer to see, the Bloodline cost Jey Uso his championship on Monday's Raw? Do you think Jey Uso could return the favor one of these weeks? We have a number 1 contenders match on SmackDown coming up this week with DIY and the having just debuted Motor City Machine Guns. I think the Machine Guns win that one, as they should. I think Jey Uso could cost Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa the tag team titles, and we get new tag team champions in Motor City Machine Guns, which I would have no issue with at all. I know it would be quick, but I would have no issue with that personally.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Yeah, I think that's one way to go. I thought the match was fine for what it was. Breakker winning, beating Jey to become champion. And where do you think Breakker goes from here? I think he might hold on to the belt until WrestleMania, but I don't think there's any shortage of opponents for him on Raw. And I think Damian Priest at some point could work, but I think Damian Priest is going after the World Heavyweight Championship. We also found that out on Raw this week. That could be the Survivor Series match, which I might mention in a moment. But, where do you go with Bron Breakker from here now that he's the Intercontinental Champion again? Any obvious opponents stand out to him from the Monday Night Raw roster?
It's a great question. I'm trying to think. I feel like there really isn't too many people that he hasn't feuded with already. I'm trying to think of babyface. Maybe you do him and Priest. Priest... Yeah. Obviously busy with Balor right now, but, what else are you going to do with Priest at the moment? I'm trying to think of other over baby faces. I can't really think of one right now, but Priest definitely.
Yeah, he's already beaten Sammy. If Priest wants Gunther, in the World Heavyweight title that he was screwed out of at SummerSlam. You have 3 options for Survivor Series, all 3 of which have been rumored. Damian Priest, CM Punk, Goldberg. Can you rank those matches for me in terms of matches that you would want to see for Survivor Series specifically, for the World Heavyweight title?
For who?
For Gunther.
You said Priest,
Punk, and Goldberg.
Who's the third person?
Punk, Priest, and Goldberg.
I'd say... Fuck. I'd probably say Punk, Priest, Goldberg.
Yeah, I figured Goldberg would probably be last.
Goldberg's definitely last for me.
I say Goldberg won just to get it out of the way. I mean, Goldberg's happening at some point. I would rather have it happen at Survivor Series. And no, not have a repeat of fucking Survivor Series 2016 either. So I don't want to go down that road. But I would just get that over with so we don't get it closer to WrestleMania. That's what makes me worried. I think the earlier you do it, the earlier you can get out of the way, the earlier that we can all move on. But, yeah. I mean, hey, Goldberg's never been Intercontinental Champion. Maybe Goldberg goes after Bron Breakker instead. We talked about Bron and Goldberg a couple weeks ago. Maybe that could be where they're going with it, perhaps? Question mark? I don't know.
That's a no from me.
Goldberg's Intercontinental Champion? You don't want to see that?
Are you, on drugs or something? Who wants to see that?
Slowly puts hand down. No, I'm just kidding.
That sounds terrible.
No, that would be awful. But I do want to see Bron and Goldberg. I don't know if we're going to get that, but yeah, it's interesting. I mean, they're gearing up for Crown Jewel next weekend. I think we're getting the Crown Jewel champion versus champion matches, which I still, if I check my notes, do not give a shit about still. So, I mean, they're trying.
Baby.
Do you actually care about that stuff or no?
I'm pumped. I can't wait.
For both matches.
Both.
I'm excited for Cody Gunther. I think Nia and Liv is going to be a perfect bathroom break. Nothing against either woman, but that match specifically does absolutely nothing for me.
Here's the misogynistic comments again, people.
I got to get out of here before I start making more of a fool of myself and I pull a Carlito and say something stupid. But new episodes every single week, WrestleRant.com, WrestleRantRadio.com. Rate, review, subscribe. All the support greatly appreciated. And we'll be back next week, Mr. Marceau, talking Crown Jewel. And perhaps another ring announcer leaves. Someone else says something stupid on Raw. We'll be here to discuss it as we get closer to the World Series. Like I said, go Dodgers, no Yankees.
Sounds good, brother.
Enjoy the weekend, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Join Graham, GSM Matthews, and RJ Marceau every Thursday as they run down their weekly wrestling rants, offer expert analysis, host exclusive interviews, and more. Subscribe today on all your favorite podcast platforms and never miss an episode of WrestleRant Radio.